Welcome, everybody. We are going to have a wonderful discussion relating to customer expectation and needs, because customers are very important for our products and services. And remember, this particular program is brought to you by Atara Solutions, getting it right every other time, inspiring leadership and innovation. When you want issues related to human resource, talent acquisition, consultancy, employee relations, compliance, think of Atara Solutions. I am your host, Richard J. Magoma, plus Catherine Shidandi. She's going to assist us in the issues relating to sign language, so that the people who need to understand the other language will be able to understand sign language. Thank you very much, Catherine Shidandi. Looks like our DJ is looking for music. We will completely jump into our discussion. I can see we have a sizable number of people. But before we jump into our discussion, we have organizations or sponsors that makes this particular discussion available. We have Nile Front Cottages. It is in Uganda. It is at the source of the longest river in the world, that is River Nile. It is beautiful, amazing. Once you've made a lot of money, please go there and reduce your stress. Have fun. Do not just only create money without enjoying it. Go to Nile Front Cottages and enjoy. Then we have Elsemer. Elsemer is in Naivasha. It's also where you can go and rest and have a good time. It is in Naivasha. Please think about Elsemer. It is in Naivasha. When you are in Rwanda, think of K-Squared Human Resource Services. If you're in Rwanda and you want to consult, think of K-Squared HR Services. Then we have Profiles International. They do psychometric tests. They do emotional intelligence training. If you want to be trained and be certified as an emotional intelligence trainer or expert, think of Profiles International. Then we have Steadfast Quality Solutions, where we have Albert Seker, who is a very good trainer and also who assists people in getting their competencies right. He has trained over 500 executives. So if you're in Uganda and you want to understand your competencies, please think of Steadfast Quality Solutions Limited. Then we have AR Insurance. AR Insurance. Think about it when you are thinking about insurance. Then we have Labor Planet. They do labor outsourcing. Labor outsourcing, when you want to get your labor managed from another organization, think of Labor Planet. Then there is Kapla Mintito. For those people who love cashew nuts and other related cereals, think of Kapla Mentito. It is in Mombasa. Please, when you're in Mombasa, think of Kapla Mentito. You will enjoy their cashew nuts. I've enjoyed them previously, so I know how fresh they are. And then we have Panessa Training Institute. When you are thinking of good seeds, those executive beds, think about Panessa Training Institute. Then we have We Clean. They clean sofa sets, they clean mattresses, they clean mats. They have modern cleaning tools that will really leave your furniture so clean. Then we have Hotel Sapphire. I was there and I took a cup of coffee, the ambience. When you're in Mombasa, think of Sapphire Hotel. Please go there and enjoy accommodation, and nice food. Then we have Ports Circle. They uplift lives in terms of saving. Actually, I was there with my cousin the other day. He was withdrawing money so that he can go and build. When you are in Mombasa or wherever you are, if you are a person who is conscious about saving, think of Ports Circle. Thank you so much. Now, I am going to introduce our guest speaker who is going to tell us the nuts and bolts of customer expectations and needs. If you can crack customers, then nobody can defeat you. You will really have a competitive advantage. She is none other than Harriet Sanyu. She is from Uganda, but now we are East Africans. We are talking about collaboration, linkages, and all those things that make people want to synergize. She has over 20 years experience in custom-oriented environment. She's a client experience management and the gender expert. She's a passionate trainer, mentor, and a change agent. She's a consultant as well. She has consulted in multifunctional teams in Uganda, East, South, and West Africa. Harriet is the CEO and managing partner at Molisan Consults Limited. Prior to that, she has worked with Standard Chartered Bank. She holds an upper second degree, bachelor's degree in social sciences from Makerere University. Our area of expertise include and not limited to customer service management, leadership development, financial literacy, gender mainstreaming, mentoring. She's a member on boards or associations, Wakanda Advisory Board, Indeja University Council, Entebbe Senior School, Diocesan Council, Namirembe Diocese. She has several certifications, IFC, LPI, Certified Trainer International Finance Corporation. She's also certified Gender Change Maker, Digital Volunteers Institute, South Africa. Professional footprints. She has footprints in Uganda, Kenya, Ghana, South Africa. Recognitions that she has had. CEO Leadership Award, Customer Service Culture Transformation 2018. CEO Leadership Award 2010. Leadership Award, Consumer Banking Oscars 2010. CEO Customer Service Award 2018. And as I've said, I am your host, Richard J. Magoma, a human resource practitioner. I am a trainer. I am an event MC. I'm an interview coach. But today we are here to really look into how we can get those customers who are always very fickle. And at this point, I welcome our guests, Harriet Sanyu. Harriet, take it away. Tell us how we should manage customer expectation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Richard, for that very generous introduction. I am humbled by your kind remarks. Ladies and gentlemen on the call, it's a pleasure to be with you this evening to discuss an area that I am very, very passionate about, customer experience. And it could not have come at a more opportune time than now, in this month of October, when we are celebrating Customer Service Week. Some organizations actually celebrate a whole month, others stick to a week. Usually, the practice is to celebrate those customers that give us business, that are loyal to businesses, but even more importantly, the employees who make it happen every day, day in, day out. So at a time like this, I'm happy to be here. The theme for this year is Over and Beyond. And I think it ties in well with the topic of managing customer expectations, because if you don't go over and beyond them, it can be difficult to provide a pleasant customer experience. So I hope that by the end of the session, this conversation, you'll pick an insight or two that will enhance your approach towards customer. Or with a quote by Tom Knighton. And he says, customer experience is the next competitive battleground. This is where business will be won or lost. So I would like to use this analogy of a battleground to you, dear ladies and gentlemen on the call, to create or paint a mental picture. So let us be together in this picture that I am going to paint. So imagine walking into a full battlefield full of customers, and you're fiercely fighting to get their attention, to get them to buy your products or services, and even more importantly, to keep coming back for more. So, what weapon can set you apart in this battlefield, apart from the competition? Is it price? Is it the product features? Is it the strength of the brand? Is it technology? Or is it customer experience? Or is it all of them? So if your answer is customer experience, then the question is your business or organization well equipped to fight in this battle? And that's what we are going to look at in the slides that I'm going to share in a few minutes. Okay, are we seeing the slides, Richard? Are you seeing the slides?
Yeah, we can see the slides, only that you can enlarge them.
Okay.
Thank you. You can enlarge them now.
Just a minute. Is that better?
Better.
Okay. So if you can look at that slide, I'm sure what you see confirms that customer expectations are as diverse as we are as humans. Just as each of us has unique personalities, backgrounds, preferences, so do customers when it comes to needs and expectations. So understanding these individual needs is crucial for delivering exceptional experience. Is it an easy thing? Of course, far from it, because it involves you going beyond the surface to try and understand the underlying motivations and desires that each of these customers has. Imagine it is said that customers make an impression in the first 7 seconds. So just like you've looked at my face on the screen for the few minutes that I spoke, I'm sure some of you have already made an impression about me, and you haven't even told me. So that's how customer needs and expectations are. They are usually known to customers and not sometimes communicated to the brands. So how you manage them or how you meet them will now be the game changer in your business. But even before we go to the next point, maybe someone would want to know, what are customer expectations? Customer needs and expectations are usually used interchangeably. They have a slight difference though. When we talk about customer needs, these are the fundamental requirements that customers have to fulfill their goals and to solve their problems. Let's take an example of, let's say, a social media influencer who wants to buy a phone. So they want to buy the phone to make calls, but they also want specific apps and, attributes that can help them to upload, their content. Now, customer expectations, these are the beliefs that customers have about a product or a service, how it should perform, or how even they should be treated. So this has a lot to do with the how. These ones are often influenced by, like past experiences, marketing, word of mouth, because it has a lot of how did that product work for you? So, for example, the case of a phone we've used, somebody would want to know if my colleague, another social media influencer, is using this phone, my expectation is that it should perform the same function when I get it. And also, if I buy it from the same service provider, I should probably get the same experience. So that is an expectation. Now, we need to know, how have customer expectations evolved over time? I'm sure you'll agree with me that we are going through unprecedented challenges at a global and regional level, even at a country level. Economically, some countries are still grappling with the post-COVID-19 effects. Here in Uganda, in the recent budget, they have introduced no taxes that we have to comply with. In Kenya recently, we saw how the millennials put government on the spot with the demands about the bill, that became viral. If you look at the political scene in the world, we have had the case of, the Hamasi and the Israelites still going on, Ukraine and the war in Russia. Here in Africa, Congo and Sudan continue to have tension and conflict. Now, to mention but a few, there are other areas, environmental, name it. Now, all these happenings have had a direct or indirect impact on the business landscape and ultimately on the way customers behave. So now, if a business organization is going to thrive and grow, it will need to align itself properly to remain competitive. Now, that's how the shift in the expectations has changed. The first one is generic to personalization. I'm sure, again, you agree with me that gone are the days when a one-size-fits-it-all client experience was there. These days, they are fast fading if they haven't actually faded already. Customers know what they want. They want personalized service. They want to acknowledge their unique needs, their preferences. They are asking for discounts now. They want to be rewarded for the business they bring. They don't just, either bank with you if it's a bank or eat in your restaurant. They want actually reward. And we are seeing organizations having loyalty programs, reward points. They are responding to these specific customer needs. Now, moving on to manual to digital, I'm sure all of us are aware about the digital technological enhancement that we are currently experiencing. Of course, it has helped a lot to improve efficiency, reduce costs, and ultimately enhance customer experience. There are so many examples, and I'm sure you know them. These days, you sit at your home and order a meal from a restaurant. Those days, you'd have to drive in the bustle and hustle, in the traffic to go and get a meal, Self-checkouts. Grocery shops now have apps, so you go there, download, shop. In the banks, we have online banking, we can open accounts, and so on and so forth. So when this is happening, as a business that you actually have to know how to manage the shifting and evolving customer needs. Then we have from limited information to information abundance. We all know now about the information, should I call it overload? There's a lot of information that customers are now privy to that they never used to have in the past. So these days, a customer can just get any information they need off their fingertips. So in the past, organizations would limit what clients would know, but now everything is out there. So because of this increased access to information, social media, we have Facebook, we have X, we have Instagram, customers can easily interact with businesses on the go. So as a business, as a business owner or organization that you serve, you have to be ready to also respond on the go when the client is interacting and to manage the bad reviews. There are so many examples of businesses that have successfully adopted this shift, talking about the Amazon. I think locally here we have, again, so many examples. So having said that, what factors determine customer needs. Past experiences. When you have had a previous interaction with a client, you actually expect that you'll get the same when you go back. So this usually happens. If you get a good one, you go, and next time you get a bad service, your expectations will not have been managed. You get a negative, client experience. If you got a bad experience and then you go and it gets better, you actually now get a better customer experience. We call it over promising, under delivering. There's a component there. When it comes to reputation, there are, organizations that are known either for excellent service or for poor service. A case in point here in Uganda is Cafe Javas. These days, it's like a buzzword. Every time I'm training a customer service session, I ask, give an example of an organization or a service provider that gives excellent service. Everyone unanimously says Cafe Javas. So if it has that reputation, chances are that when you go there, you'll actually expect your needs and expectations to get that service. Same for a poor service. Recently, we had a meeting in one of the top hotels here in Uganda. Let me save it for this conversation. Oh my God, the expectations were so high. It's a big brand. But the service we got was so bad. The waiters were very unpolite. The meal was not good. So after that meeting, actually, people were telling me, oh, Harriet, please go and pitch. These guys need to fix their service. But almost all of us unanimously agreed that we are not going back. Why? Because the brand reputation is so high, but what we got was not what we expected. Online reviews, I've again already talked about them. Word of mouth, these days it works a lot. If you're looking for a place to go, to do business, to go, and shop, you actually look at the reviews. Last year, we wanted to go for Christmas as a family in Western Uganda. So when we were looking at some of the reviews, we actually made a decision not to go to one of the hotels where we wanted to go, because one of the reviews was saying, oh, service is poor, the meal came after 30 minutes, there's no hot water, there are no mosquito nets, there are quite a number of issues. Guess what? We abandoned the deal. We picked another one. So this is actually a factor that can determine what customers expect and even make customers make a purchasing decision. Experience from a competitor. So we have experience from companies that are doing similar business. Let's take an example of, let's say, M-Pesa, MTN and Airtel. So a customer would say, if MTN can give me a free weekend bundle, why shouldn't M-Pesa do that? If I can get, credit on my balance as interest, why shouldn't Airtel do it? And imagine they don't tell the service provider, but that's what is going on through their minds. So why should we then manage customer experience? I mean, customer expectations and needs. I'm using these words interchangeably, like I said earlier. Obviously, to create customer satisfaction. If needs are met, customers feel valued and they will be satisfied. Now, satisfied customers will be loyal. They are more likely to stay with the brand. And if they have stayed with the brand and they are loyal, they are definitely going to become brand ambassadors. They speak on your behalf. We recently had, again, a very, common example that is making rounds on social media. I think it did a few months ago, of where a client complained about a rat in a milkshake of Cafe Javas. Now, initially, Cafe Javas didn't come out, but it's the customers who actually fought that war for Cafe Javas, because they have now become brand advocates and ambassadors. So when you reach that level, you know that you're actually doing the right thing. And then obviously, to gain competitive advantage, because that's what organizations are looking at doing right now. So in summary, great customer experience will, this is just a slide to show a summary of what I have been presenting on the earlier slide. And just to let you know that according to Bain and Company, this is a company that does a lot of client interaction surveys. it says it costs between 5 and 25% to acquire a new client than to retain one that you already have. So the focus then should be on ensuring that we do the best that we can so that we can actually retain customers that we have before we even go out to get others. But who is responsible for doing all these things that I have been talking about? And there are quite many. I don't know if your guess is as good as mine. Is it the customer service officers? Is it marketing? Is it product teams? If it's a restaurant, is it the waiter? You know, we would really want to know. So if you look at this slide, I want to speak about this particular, to respond to the question of who is responsible by relating it or connoting it to a chain industry. The most easy one to bring it to life is the car assembly plant. So if you have watched those documentaries in car assembly plants, you know how the process, the car moves from, actually it's not a car, it is a car in making. It moves from one stage to another. You know, they put on the tires, then the body, then the seats, up to the time when it rolls off and is in motion. So the answer is everybody is responsible. Customer service is not a department. It is the entire organization. So if we are to use the example that will relate to all of us easily, the example of Cafe Javas, and if you have been there, you know that there's someone who welcomes you when you reach. Then somebody comes to actually clean the table just in case there's dust that has, accumulated. Then the waiter comes to give you the menu. And surprisingly, I have noted the one who brings the menu is not the one who brings the food. Someone brings the food. But even before the food is brought, imagine there's a chef at the back and all those people that put that meal together. Then, of course, you enjoy the food. Somebody else brings the bill. And when you have finished, then they clear. Now, it's a whole chain. If you put it in your respective businesses, you will notice that, probably you have operations, then you have audit, HR. You can use it to place it in your respective scenarios. And then you can now confirm that it is actually the whole organization. And most importantly, the leadership. Because there's a book that I read and it is written by a Ugandan author. He's called Richard Sebagala. He says the fish rots from the top. Then recently, I think last week, there's another author, Dr. Dorothy Cheney, who wrote a book titled Without the Leader, There's No Client Experience. So leadership is also very, very important. So as a business owner, don't say that, for me, I sit at the rim. I mean, that job is for people in the front. No, everybody is actually involved. So I'd like us to take a moment, ladies and gentlemen, on this call to reflect on the recent, service that you have received from one of your providers. It could be a salon, supermarket, name it. If you were to rate them for the customer service they provided you, what would the score be? And why? I hope you are actually reflecting. Because you see, we also receive services, but we also provide. Now, interesting, sometimes you actually don't want to do what you want to be done for you when you are a customer. So let us see. These are probably some of the few, reasons why you have scored the way that you have. There are quite a number, and I couldn't exhaust. But if you notice, and if we are to bucket them, some have to do with feelings, how, the service provider made the customer feel. Others have to do with the system. Others have to do with the product, and so on and so forth. So if they are as vast as they are, how then do we manage them? Because we should. The first step, like I have said, to manage or exceed is to know what these expectations are. So in this slide, I have bundle them into 3 categories that I would like to talk about. 1, the visual needs. 2, the emotional needs. And then 3, the functional needs. Let's see what we have there. So, have you heard of the first impressions? How the first impression is the lasting impression? What the customer sees or the initial impression they get about your premises will set the tone for the entire experience that the customer is going to get. And it will be a reflection of your brand identity. So ensure that your premises, have signage, the environment is good, they are clean, orderly, the staff are actually groomed, and they look good, because humans are visual by nature. I have an example of a friend. My friend, she's called Evelyn. She has a place she likes. It's a Kafunda here in Uganda. So sometimes she takes me there. But my friend, that place, to access it and how it looks like is not the best. But they have good food. The waiters are actually very helpful. So sometimes maybe that restaurant is missing out on would-be customers because of how it looks like, So visual is very, very important. And I know that some of us like to be associated with good things. Personally, I'm visual. I like good things. I mean, why not? So this is easy to achieve, especially if an organization or an establishment has a budget, because it is actually key. And I'm glad that many organizations these days are actually rebranding and they have offices that look very, very presentable. Now, the next one, emotional needs. Now, this is very, very critical because this is actually the game changer. So the question then is, do your staff have the right attitude and skills to manage these customers, to make them feel valued, appreciated? It has a lot to do with the emotions. And that I think it is it Maya Angelou who said that people will forget what you did, but they will not forget how you made them feel. So the environment might be good, very good. That's a plus. You might actually have a very beautiful and well-groomed staff in the front. That's a plus. But hey, what's their attitude like? Are they helpful? Do they have empathy? Those are all the soft skills that are required for you as a business or owner or organization to meet the emotional needs of customers. Now, this is where usually a lot of training has to be done. And you know that sometimes organizations don't do induction. They just get a beautiful girl, they place her in the front, let's say of a restaurant, a bar, a bank, and they think that things will work out. She doesn't know what to say. She doesn't know how to say it. She does not even have knowledge, So this is a very, very important need. And then finally, the functional need. Now, these functional needs, what are they? This is how fast and efficient your company will deliver the products. So then the question is, are your staff knowledgeable? Knowledgeable in what? Do they know the product? Do they know the processes? Do they know the systems? All those tools that you use. I remember when I was in Standard Chartered heading the client service team as head of client experience, we used to have so many systems we log into. We used to have the processes that guide us so that net and ultimately, when the customer calls in or visits, you know what you are doing. Now, knowledge is very, very important. You can have the ambience, you can have the soft skills, but sitting in front of a desk or a restaurant when you don't know the product or the menu, again, there's a gap. The competencies. Which competencies do people need to serve your customers? Do they need to be trained? Do they need to be certified? What plan do you have as an entity to make sure that they acquire those competencies? Do they have experience in the role? That's also very critical. Are they even available when you open for business or some of the desks are unmanned? that will determine how fast you will provide the service, which is turnaround time. And is it a one-stop shop, or am I going to move from one desk to another, being pushed because this person has no idea about the pieces of the products or services that you provide? Now, an ideal service practitioner should
Harriet,
have a good...
excuse me, Harriet.
Yes.
There is, I don't know if it is them who have a problem or it's your end. There's somebody who's saying that you should speak a bit louder. There is another one also saying that you move a bit slow.
Sorry,
right.
that I speak a bit louder?
Yeah, I don't know if it is them because I can get it very clearly. I don't know.
Okay. Okay, so talking about these needs, the emotional, the visual, and the functional, what I was saying is that an ideal customer service person should have a good combination or flair of the three of them. When you do have that in your entity as a business owner, you will actually be able to meet customer needs. And the most important of them all is the emotional needs, because guess what? Another business can actually replicate the product, the experience, and the processes. They can also replicate the ambience that you have, and they make it even better. But chances are they may not be able to replicate the experience and the people that serve your customers. Okay, so we should aim at ensuring that those needs are met: functional, emotional, and ultimately the vision needs. So then, having said that, how do we then identify how do we identify customer needs and expectations? So the first one here is to gather feedback. It's important to solicit feedback through, let's say, surveys, voice of customer calls. If you have a call center, you can actually use it to get feedback from customers. So this feedback will actually help you to further identify customer needs. Data analytics. Now, after you have got the feedback, definitely you need to use it to make meaning to what you would like to do in terms of managing customer needs and expectations, to get valuable insights. Because these days, customers are not just a statistic. There's something beyond just being a customer. You want to know who they are. You want to understand the behavior, the patterns, the purchase history, their online interactions, and so on and so forth. So it's important to leverage on the data to make sure that you actually address pain points and then identify opportunities for improving. By so doing, you'll actually be able to identify and manage customer expectations. The other one is journey mapping. Again, looking at the journey before, during, and after, using data and feedback to be able to pick what needs or expectations should happen at each stage. So when you're able to map them, then you will be able to actually meet expectations and needs at each of those touch points in the customer journey. Then obviously the segmenting, I talked about it earlier when I was talking about the evolving customer service needs. You can use the data analysis and the feedback to group customers based on, like demographic, purchase history, and so many other scenarios. This will actually help you to now be able to address the specific needs and expectations of these various segments that you have identified. Once that is done, then you can go ahead and manage customer expectations. How? Again, personalizing the products. You have already got to know who they are, what they like. Then working with product teams or working, with the head of business, whatever service provider you are, industry you're in, you're now able to personalize these products, to personalize these services. So then this helps you to actually meet the needs of the specific segments that you have segmented. Setting clear expectations. Now, this is very, very critical. So you remember the slide where we said, where we showed the positive and the negative expectations? Oftentimes, clients expect a lot from us, but the onus is on us as an entity or organization to clearly communicate that, for us as Molisan, these are our customer standards. Usually you would say, we will greet customers name, we will be courteous and use empathy, and so on and so forth. We've seen businesses where some of these service promises have been displayed. So then what it means is that you will have scoped what customers can expect from you and what they can't. Because like we said, the needs are as diverse as we are. And then working with those standards, then you can work backwards to have SLAs. Those are service level agreements and so many other tools that will help you to manage those expectations that you have set. The other one is to track what you expect, putting in place key performance indicators that you will measure for those standards that you have set as a business. They can be as simple as they can be, depending on the industry that you're in. For example, if it is a call center, you will need to measure the calls that are abandoned. You will need to measure the response rate. If it is a restaurant, you will time the turnaround time from the time the customer makes an order to the time the food is brought. If it is, an airline, you will look at an onboarding experience from the time they check in up to the time they board, and so on and so forth. So these will actually help you to continuously meet customer needs and expectations. Now, again, I've already talked about leveraging on data. You already have it. So you need to continuously, dig deep in there to look for service improvements and product development. That's why we see companies are always launching new products, changing their service. They are responding to customer needs and expectations. Again, moving on. Sorry about that. Yes, moving on there, still in line with managing customer expectations. Foster a supportive, collaborative culture. All those that we have talked about earlier cannot happen without support. You remember that slide when I asked who is responsible? All of us are, and as an entity, as your business, as your organization, you need to cultivate a culture of support where you even empower your staff so that they are able to serve customers and to make some decisions without a lot of referrals, from management or the top. Encourage creativity. We are living in a creative era. We cannot be thinking statically. You have to keep improving the way you're doing things. So innovation is obviously very encouraged. Continuous improvement through training. We are actually talking about such right now on this Zoom. You would like to know what can we do differently. This is one of the sessions where we are continuously learning through training or through listening to such conversations. And then finally, reward and recognition. There's a famous customer experience consultant called Shep Haken. He says that if we continuously exceed expectations of our employees, they will in turn exceed expectations of our customers. So it's very, very important to recognize the people who do this work. And that's why some of them are actually recognized during this customer service month. But not forgetting, of course, to also consequence manage when they are not doing the right thing. So this is the quote that I talked about earlier, and I would like to end with it. Customer experience is the next competitive battleground. It's where businesses are going to be won or lost. Then I pose the question again. Are you well equipped in this battleground? Just to remind you as I conclude that customer experience is not a destination, it is a journey of continuous improvement. It's not about short-term gains. No. It's about building trusted relationships with customers. Okay? It's not just a buzzword or nice to have. It is actually the new age of competition. So the battle lines are drawn. Start your journey today if you hadn't started, and endeavor to build a customer-centric culture. And I'm sure that by winning the battle for customers' hearts, you will actually win the war for market share or business. Thank you very much, Richard. I'll stop
Let us
there.
appreciate Harriet, Sanyu, for that very insightful presentation. Let us use any sticker or emoji to appreciate our presenter. Please let us appreciate. Customer experience is the next competitive battleground. It is where business is going to be won or lost. That is Tom Knighton. Now, Harriet, let me ask you, as you continuously train organizations that do well in customer care and organizations that are not doing very well in customer care, what are some of the commonest mistakes that you see organizations make? They could be having quality product, they could be having quality services, but their customer care, what are the commonest mistakes?
Okay. So thank you very much, Richard, for that question. One of the commonest mistakes that organizations do is actually not to induct their staff. So they get someone or, new people, they have a very, very brief induction, and then they place them in their respective roles. So if these people are not equipped with the information and probably some of the skills they need, they will definitely not do a good job. So it's important not to rush so much to make someone sit on the tables or on the, the roles that they do. Make time to actually have a well cut out induction plan about the products, about the service, about the nature of customers, so that by the time they are sitting and taking on this responsibility, they have a place where they can start. Now, of course, the other one is insufficient training. It ties in a bit to what I have said. Many times organizations, the training budgets are stringent. So they think that things will somehow, somewhere, be figured out. And sometimes they get either someone who has more experience in the role to, take these people through or train them. So what turns out is that they will learn things the way that the person who has inducted them actually does things. The other is to ignore feedback. If you are not responding to client feedback, I would take it that you're like someone moving in a new city without a map. You don't know where you're going. You're just walking. So for you to make sure that you serve your customer interests, you have to take note of feedback. And it's not very difficult. You can have feedback forms even during the interactions. But many customers fail to solicit feedback, and this becomes a challenge because then they are addressing completely different needs and expectations from those that the customers want. Sometimes it's also let's say if it's a restaurant, you have a generic menu. So the child doesn't have a meal. If I'm non-vegetarian, I'm not going to have a meal. So do you know what happens is that we'll go away and look for a place where some of our individual needs and preferences will be taken care of. Then we have people who overpromise. Organizations, they set expectations, they don't meet them. You know, when you interact with them, what they have actually said they will do, they doesn't happen. When they give you a product and they say, oh, when you use this phone, this is what is going to happen, it actually doesn't happen. So oftentimes, also that affects. And then I'll just end up with one. I talked about empowerment. We need to empower our people. So oftentimes, again, organizations don't empower people. The authority sits at the top. People at the top are always in meetings, yet they are the decision makers. So you find that whereas these people are skilled, they have all it takes, they cannot make certain decisions, which can be quite frustrating for customers. I think those are the few that I can come off head, Richard.
Thank you very much. You can remove your slides so that we can be able to see you. The other question, okay. I was at an organization that produces serviettes and toilet rolls, and one of the questions I was asked, how do you deal with difficult customers? There are those people who say they're not difficult customers. That is just a learning experience. How do you deal with those customers? For lack of an accurate word, difficult customers.
Yes, they are there, plenty of them. I'll share my personal experience. How you deal with them may not be a clear-cut process, you know, like cast in stone. But personally, what I always do is to make sure that I take care of the emotional needs first. So when customers are difficult or when they are irate, they are very emotional. So I'll just share an example of one time a customer who came to the branch when I was the branch manager. He was so irate, he banged the table, he demanded his statement, we couldn't provide it. So I looked at him with grace and with a smile. Of course, he was not amused, and he said, I know you're trained. How do you look at me like that? I have a need. But I told him, and I remember his name, he was called Mr. Sekatawa. And he was known, you know, to be difficult. So I was firm. I kept on smiling. He said, I see you're professional. That doesn't help me. I said, Mr. Sekatawa, what you need right now is for me to listen. And I am listening. So I continued to listen. And guess what? With time, he actually toned down his voice. So when we were at a place where we could speak, then I started to acknowledge what his concerns are. So the first thing is to sort of manage the emotions. That's one. Sometimes it's not as easy. It's easier said than done, but you don't gaslight. So if a customer is irate, again, you don't return that in the same spirit. So you actually ensure that you put the fire down. Because I know one time I was doing a training at a bank, I won't mention. So one of the people told me, Harriet, for me, if a client comes, I give it back to him. Now, that doesn't work. You don't gaslight. Then the second thing is to acknowledge the feelings, the challenge, the delay, whatever issue that it is. You acknowledge, you can use empathy. You say, I understand the statement has delayed, Mr. Sekatawa. We would like to apologize. So you resonate by using empathy, then you take ownership of that, because if you're in the front, you are the one who is absorbing. It may not be you, but you represent the entity. So you take ownership of that mishap and then solve it if it is a quick kill. If you can't, give a promise. Now that's, I don't know, fourth, a commitment that you will actually get this issue done. If he has calmed down properly, you may actually move around. If it's like a statement, pick it. If you need to get back to him, give a turnaround time. Within this time, we are going to get back to you. Usually it works. So the key points, don't gaslight. Wait for the emotions to get down and then identify the root cause, work until you fix it. Keep in touch and be accountable until you fix it. Don't again pass it on to another person. You say, oh, now it's IT. Oh, now it's the chef. No, fix it yourself. That has worked for me. I'm sure it can work if applied.
Very good, Harriet. You know very well that Customer Service Week was started way back in 1984.
Yes, around there.
Around by the American Customer Service Association. Now, the reason why
International Customer Service Association.
Yes.
Yes.
Now I'm asking, do you think that people are just going through the motions? You've mentioned the issue of the role of data analytics. Do you think organizations go back and check what was the impact of Customer Service Week, or just going through the motions of celebrating the day? Does it make a difference?
Sorry, come again. The celebration of the service week or the data
do
that
people
they
measure
collect?
The impact? Do people measure the impact of the service week?
Or of the service week? Yes, I think they do. You see, it depends on the reason and the purpose for which you're doing it. Take, for instance, if you're going to recognize, let's say, loyalty, customers who've been with you for some time. So even before you go to that stage of recognition, you have already used data to find out who are these loyal customers, who are your top. Because you don't just wake up and say, hey, we are recognizing. You're not going to recognize all the customers. You're probably going to say, let's say if it's a restaurant, there will be people in your database, if you have it, that you know often come to the restaurant. If they use online, you actually already have their contact. So it works. Like for me, I have a place I usually go for a massage. I love massage and, taking care of myself sometimes. So that place, that place is called Soothing Spot. I'm sure Ugandans who are on the call know that place. So guess what they do? They call me on my birthday and they say, come for a free treat, even before the customer service week. So when the customer service week is happening, this time they haven't called me. I don't know what's happening, but they have called me in the past. So yes, data works and the impact is there. What is the impact? Again, more loyalty. Because if you are recognizing me, it means I'll stick by, I will give the positive word of mouth, and I will continue to be a brand ambassador of your brand. So sometimes there's a bit of emotion, especially lately, but it rubs off. It rubs off because customers appreciate and then they know. And like I told you earlier, they now know they're powered by choice. Some of them actually even ask for recognition. They come and say, hey, I have banked with you for the last 5 years. I don't even have an umbrella. So they're already feeling entitled. So it does make impact because others are doing it. Again, if you don't, you might lose a customer because, like I said, we are emotional just because of a pen, just because of an umbrella, and somebody moves to another brand. So the impact is there, but it should be driven by data. You don't just say it's a service week, we are rewarding everybody. Who are you rewarding? Based on what? And then do you also check the trend that when we rewarded our priority customers for our best, this is the growth of the business that we have got from them. If you use data, you should be able to actually see the value of the business growth from that specific customer.
Thank you, Harriet. There's a question by Ronald. Amidst challenging expenses of human resource, salaries, rent, utilities, how can one balance this customer service versus cost of running a business? Also, that is a question that is related to that we tend to dedicate very little resources towards customer skills acquisition. Why do you think that attitude is within organizations?
Personally, I think organizations or individuals or leaders think that customer service is a given. It will happen anyway. There are still people, even as I speak, Richard, who believe that get a beautiful girl, put her in the front, and your business is good. Yes, maybe, and no, maybe. So it comes from such an attitude that things will happen anyway. So it is not looked at as a specific skill set that someone should have. It's something that even someone can say, let's say if it is an SME, most SME, let's say the startups, and forgive me if you're a business owner of an SME here, some actually can bring, let's say, their child who is in vacation or a university, someone who is waiting for results, and they say, sit here at this desk and serve customers. Somehow they think that things will work out. They forget that a customer service practitioner must have a skill set that is critical for addressing some of those. Some people who are sitting in the front actually not meant to be in the front. They don't have the skill set. They don't know how to engage people. Their behavior styles are very different. They are not networkers. They are not problem solvers. But the attitude comes from that. Anybody can do it. I'm glad these days the need to, train and focus on the importance of customer service is growing. Not only in Uganda, I think Kenya, you people are ahead of us. The focus is very, very high. And like I said, it is work in progress. We shall get there. Trainings like this one, even organizations having, let's say, morning huddles. Sometimes you may not even have a training. If it's a restaurant, call your staff in the morning, the first few minutes before the restaurant opens, and say, hey, how was yesterday? What challenges did you face? So then these staff can learn from them so that they get better. Also, those can help to polish up if you don't have the budget to do the training. So you learn from experiences, you learn from customers. That, I'm sure, can help, Richard.
Very good, very good. That is quite an insightful response to that question of budgeting for customer obsession. What is the difference? What we keep reinventing these customer-related concepts. We have come from customer satisfaction, customer excellence, customer obsession. Is there a difference? Is there? We keep renaming, just like in human resource, we keep on saying chief happiness officer,
yes.
human capital.
These days, I think you're saying, these days you call it human capital.
Yes.
Sometime it was called a personnel management. Well,
Yes.
this is what I can say. I'll just try again to paint a picture in terms of the levels of customer service or customer experience. So if I may, we have what we can say called basic or mandatory. Let's say at the beginning stage, somebody's hired. So what an organization is new. Let's say it's a restaurant, it has just opened recently. I helped a customer to set up their department and to train their staff. It is a 3-star hotel. So I'll use that example. So at the stage where they are at what we would call basic. They are just at introductory. Now, when you move from there, you'd go to what I would call elevated client experience. You have got the basic at the introductory level, which is probably, helicopter view. Now you're going a bit granular to get to understand the basics of customer service. So therein are so many components. Now, after that, you can say from elevated that you now have what we call excellent customer service. That's like another stage. You have moved from the beginning, you have got elevated. Now you're at a level where you're actually trying to meet the needs and you're excellent. Now, from there, usually some organizations call it customer centricity, where you are at a point, you remember the slide that had so many arrows? Every force is focused on the customer, the processes, the systems, the people, the regulators, everybody has put the customer at the center. Now, that's where usually you have consistent service across. I think that's where the cafe javas operate of this world. Customer centricity. Every decision, everything you say is about the customer. Now, from there is customer obsession. That one, many organizations are still aspiring to get there, where you're so obsessed, you breathe and live customer. Anything you say, any decision you make, any product you launch, any menu you come up with is breathing customer. I don't know if I have answered your question in that regard.
Yes, you have, Harriet, you have. As you prepare for your parting shot, what can you tell, although you've mentioned it in passing, what can you advise small organizations on how to celebrate or excel in customer-related matters, given that they have very squeezed budgets?
I don't know, Richard, where you're focused on the small ones. Even small ones can actually celebrate when the big ones are not. But these are my thoughts for the small ones. Start small. They don't have to think about the big things. They can start with the small things that are around them. Because you see, they have a unique opportunity because they are already small. Probably even their customers are not as many. So one of the things or recommendations I would give is to focus on personalization. If it is small, I think it is easier to personalize, because if it's a big entity, it's a bank. I'm talking a lot about a bank because that's where I've worked. You have the corporate, you have the retail, you have, the SMEs, and the SMEs, you have medium, large. I mean, hey, how are you going to personalize? But a small business, you know your customers. So the first thing or advice I would give is to actually leverage or focus on personalization. Remember them by name. You can even remember what products did you take. If it's, let's say, let me give an example of a supermarket. You would know that I come in every other time and maybe I pick this. So if the attendant is keen, they'll say, hey, Richard, today are you not taking your liquid soap? So for me, that would be a game changer. And by the way, Richard, if you notice, there are people who like to stick to those small organizations because they'll say, they know me, they understand me. And then empower those people that you have to provide exceptional service. Because small businesses, it's very easy, again, to foster the culture of service because you don't have a lot of dynamics, approvals that you need, intricacies, and all those things. So it is very easy to empower the people. And then you may not have data per se, but you can use, let's say, if you write in a receipt, maybe you're not even yet digital. Look through your receipts. Find out who has bought the most. Call them back. Recently, I was surprised by a clinic just here near home. I had a bit of a temperature. I wanted to find out if it is malaria. So instead of going to a place where I have medical insurance, I just decided to go to, a nearby clinic. So I went, they did the checkup. I didn't actually have malaria. It was a bacterial infection. Guess what, Richard? After 3 days, they called me back and they said, Harriet, how are you feeling? I was like, wait a minute. Is this real? It was. So because probably they are small and they are struggling to attract customers, they can actually be able to practice some of these, little niceties before they become too big. so that customers go away. Actually, Richard, you'll notice that sometimes as businesses grow, they lose customers. Sometimes they're not even aware that they have lost them because they are not in touch with them. So those few tips are the few that I can share for small businesses out there to make sure that they take care of their customers.
And they are great tips, Harriet. Lastly, to prepare for your parting shot. I don't know if Uganda has enacted data protection. Kenya, we have done it. Now, how do you balance the issue of data protection and customer management? You need the data, yet you are put between the devil and the blue sea about managing the data and managing customers, using the data to get to customers.
I think I need more clarity on that. So you mean the data that the customers give the entity?
Yes, yes. Because if you continuously send to a customer, for example, an advert, a customer can get annoyed, especially now in Kenya where we have data protection and you want those customers. How do you balance this? What do you need? What kind of skills do you need to balance these two?
Okay. I think for starters, it's important to understand the data protection regulations. In Uganda, we have actually also enacted that, and it's very, very clear what you should or shouldn't do with customer data. Even as you collect it, at that stage, you're collecting it, it's very important to let customers know that with this data that we are picking from you, these are some of the scenarios how we will use it. I think most times issues arise when there was lack of communication at the point of collecting data. There are some businesses for which this issue is clear. Let's say banks. Again, I said I worked in a bank, so I give it as an example. It's very clear. The regulator, which is usually the central bank, has guidelines on this. Now, in other entities, let's say it's your restaurant, it's your clinic, whatever it is, it's important to have consent from a client. If, for example, you're going to post them on your Instagram page and say, hey, I'm here with Harriet, you know, she's happy. Sometimes we do some of these things, especially on the social media handles, without customer consent. It can actually lead you into trouble. So I think for me, the issue here is at that point when you're collecting the data, you need to let a customer know. When they know and they have consented, that should be fine. If you haven't done it at that stage, then at the point where you're going to use it, they should know. Because like some of us trainers, you're probably going to do a training and then I put it up on LinkedIn. I say, training at Mollison, training at, you know, Stanbic Bank. And then there's faces of employees all over. Then I put it on the website. So you should get consent. Some of the organizations actually have guidelines. You don't just put pictures there. So that's what I can share for now. But also clients need to appreciate the importance and use of this data because sometimes it's for their own good. When it is used appropriately, it helps entities to improve product offerings, to serve them better, you know, to create positive word of mouth. So if they are on the same page, I'm sure they will consent and appreciate what, you know, the benefits are. But obviously also to communicate the flip side of it and to respect those who do not want to be out there because some people are not, you know, for being put out there. Respect their opinions. Like I said again, customers as unique as we all are, very, very important to respect that. We used to do that. I remember when we would have, let's say, a customer service week, and then we call our client and then we say, we are going to put this out. Are you okay? Some would say no, others would say, by all means, go ahead. So very, very important to respect their opinions.
Thank you, Harriet. Kiblagat says, thank you very much. We have Emily Gakiza. Thank you for sharing. Fantastic presentation. There is Wafula, our ever-present listener. Wonderful, very well presented and attentive. Then we have George Onyango is there in importance of team building on to customer care team. Very informative by Susan Maura. Kindly share the slides. Slides may not be shared, but we will share the recording. We have Caroline Mugambi who has said, good presentation, kindly share. We will share the recording, but not the slides because they are copyrighted unless our good friend Harriet decides to share.
Is it data protection?
Olympus Medical Center is a very insightful and very nice presentation. Manage emotions, don't gaslight. That is Petty Jumbo. There is Winfrieda. She's also requesting for the notes. There is Pius, Happy Customer Week. Then there is Galaxy. That's from, the name is not there. Really appreciated. We kindly request for the notes. How can we handle harassment? That one has been answered. You're welcome, George. Thank you so much for being around. Now you are parting shot, Harriet.
Okay, first of all, I'm grateful to have been part of today's session and conversation, especially at a time when we are celebrating the Customer Service Week. My parting shot is to specifically take note of the emotional needs of customers, because the rest you can replicate. So to take care of that and to know that for someone to provide excellent service, you actually need to have a skill set. You don't just wake up and say, hey, I'm here, I'm going to do a good job. And to know that customer experience or customer service excellence is a journey. It is not going to happen in a flash. So take time. And it is subjective, by the way. When you raise the bar, it becomes the new normal. Then when you raise higher, it becomes the new normal. So you need to continuously innovate, continuously train, but most importantly, delight in serving customers, because that is how you're going to create a competitive advantage. And again, I'm saying, equip yourself, because it is no longer the next competitive battleground. It is actually the battleground right now. I wish you the best as you fight for customers in this competitive battleground.
Very well, Harriet. I don't know if you could like to be reached. You can leave either your contact or you can.
Let me share my number. Just a moment. Just 1 minute. Is the slide.
In the meantime, Jacinta, you can share our link, our WhatsApp link for people to join. Jacinta, you can share the link to WhatsApp.
All right, Richard, just a minute. Let me copy it.
Okay. So, just a minute, I'm sharing the contact. Yes. So that's the contact. You can reach out to me. Both numbers are on WhatsApp. At Molly-san, we are very glad to support you in your customer experience journey. We do customer service audits. We actually do tailored voice of customer for your organization. We train, we give consultancy, and so many services therein. So reach out to us in case of need. We'll be very, very, very glad to help.
Thank you so much. It has been a wonderful and delightful discussion. We are enlightened. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, we are going to have the African HR Summit in Rwanda. Our ED, Human Resource, Institute of Human Resource, ED will be speaking as well. Grace will be the moderator. So please find your way to Rwanda. I think it is on the 21st of November. Go there and learn, go there and interact, go there and know people. Don't just stay where you are. Go and learn. Tour East Africa and learn how people are doing things. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate our presenter, Harriet Sanyu. I have been your moderator, Richard J. Magoma, and Catherine Shidandi. Behind the technical, we had Jacinta. Our moderator of choice is out of the country. We appreciate your presence. Thank you so much. God bless. Good night.
Thank you.